I'm Emily. On my sister's birthday, the family gifted her a fully paid Europe trip. Me? I got nothing. At least, that's what I thought. Until I posted a picture from Iceland where I was on a business trip. You'd think they'd be happy for me. They weren't. Ever had a family moment like that? Let me know. It was my sister's birthday. The house was bustling, everyone laughing, and there she was, glowing with excitement as my mom handed her the envelope. A trip to Europe, fully paid. She had no idea, of course, how much this would mean. And me? I was invisible. "Mom, are we doing anything for Emily?" my sister asked, looking at me for the first time all evening. I didn't expect anything, but the question stung anyway. My mom waved her hand dismissively. "She doesn't need anything. Emily's fine." I stood there, frozen. Fine? Really? Did she think I was fine with being left out again? I could afford a trip like that if I wanted to, but this was different. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about the damn trip. It was about being forgotten. Every single time. "Why don't you just take a break, Emily?" My mom said it so casually, like I was a machine that could just turn off. "You can get yourself whatever you want later. You don't need presents." I wanted to snap back, tell her I didn't need her to tell me what I did or didn't need. I wanted to scream, but I just stood there, numb. Not even angry, just tired. Tired of pretending it didn't matter, of pretending it didn't hurt. The party went on. They laughed, they ate, they acted like everything was normal. Meanwhile, I stood by, watching, unable to escape the feeling that I didn't belong here. Maybe I never did. "Here, let's take a picture for the memories," my sister said, pulling me in. Her arm went around my shoulder, and I plastered on a smile, trying to hold back the frustration. They thought it was all good. They thought I was fine. But I wasn't. I didn't leave the party right away. I stuck around for a while, just because. I didn't want to be the one who storms out. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't the one who started a scene. But when I couldn't take it anymore, I walked out, grabbed my phone, and posted a photo from my trip to Iceland. The cold, distant beauty of the landscape was everything I needed right now. Far away, untouchable, free. Sometimes, freedom looks like a frozen landscape. The caption was simple, but sharp enough to hit home. I posted it quickly, almost without thinking. The days after the birthday were full of tension. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from my family. At first, I ignored them. What was there to say? But eventually, I gave in. I picked up the phone, opened the latest text from my mom. "Emily, why would you post that? Are we really that unimportant to you?" I didn't respond. I couldn't. There were no words left. A few hours later, another call came in. This time, it was from my mom, trying once again to pull me back into the family fold. "Why did you leave, Emily? Why won't you come back to us?" Her voice trembled slightly, but the tone was still full of accusation. It was as if she couldn't comprehend why I'd be hurt. "I'm fine," I said, trying to keep it short. "I've got work to do." "Work? You're avoiding us, again," she snapped, her voice raising with frustration. "You never come to anything anymore. You can't keep pretending like everything's okay." "Mom, I'm not pretending anything," I replied, the coldness in my voice surprising even me. "I'm just figuring things out." She let out a long sigh. "You think this is healthy? You're isolating yourself. And for what? Some work trip?" A pause. Then, more gently, "You don't need to do this alone, Emily. You're pushing us away, and that's not who we are." I hung up before she could say anything else. The following days were filled with awkward silence and missed calls. My mom left several voicemails, all similar in tone, concern masked with guilt-tripping. The thing was, I wasn't even angry anymore. I just couldn't keep pretending that I was fine with being treated like an afterthought in my own family. At work, Raphael, as always, noticed something was off. He'd always been a quiet support, someone who never pressured, but somehow always knew when to say the right thing. "Hey, you good?" he asked one afternoon as I shuffled papers on my desk. I glanced at him, realizing just how much of a mess my personal life had become. Yeah, just family stuff, I mumbled, not wanting to go into it. You want to talk about it? Raphael asked, sitting on the edge of my desk, watching me intently. I don't think there's much to say. They just don't get it. Not sure they ever will, I responded, trying to sound more composed than I felt. He nodded slowly, understanding without pushing too hard. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but sometimes it's okay to let them in. Doesn't mean you have to give up your space, but I cut him off, not wanting to hear more of the same. I don't know if I can do that anymore, I said. I've tried to fit into their box, and it just doesn't work. It's never been enough. Raphael didn't argue. He didn't need to. He knew I wasn't in the mood for advice, just space. And somehow, that was all I needed from him. The texts kept coming. My mom tried again. Emily, please, we miss you. I miss you. I didn't reply. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I couldn't go back to the way things were, not after everything that had happened. I was tired of constantly putting myself aside just to make them happy. I deserved better than that. That night, I finally checked my social media, and there it was, a comment on my Iceland photo from my sister. Nice picture. Too bad you couldn't be here with us, though. It stung. It shouldn't have, but it did. Still, I didn't feel the need to explain myself. Instead, I posted another photo, a quick shot of the ocean, waves crashing on the rocks, the sky stretching endlessly into the horizon. Freedom, pure and simple. No caption this time, no explanation, just the image. I didn't hear from them again that night. The following morning, the phone buzzed again. This time, a text from Raphael. I get it. You're doing what you need to. Just remember, it's okay to lean on people when you're ready. For a moment, I thought about responding, telling him everything, letting him in. But then the phone buzzed again, another text from my mom. I'm sorry. Please come home. The apology was clear, but it didn't make me feel any different. The news hit me like a punch in the gut. It came from an unexpected source, Lena, a colleague I've known for a while. We'd worked together on a few projects, but I didn't know her all that well. Still, when she approached me in the break room, I wasn't prepared for what she said. Emily, I think you should know something about your mom, Lena started, her voice low and serious. I frowned, unsure where this was headed. What do you mean? Lena glanced around, making sure no one else was listening. I don't want to get involved in family drama, but I overheard something a while ago, and I think it's important you hear it. Your mom, she's been hiding something. A big something. My heart skipped a beat, and I felt that familiar tightness in my chest. What are you talking about? Lena hesitated before continuing. A few months ago, your mom was talking to someone. She was on the phone, but she didn't think anyone was listening. I overheard her mention your name and money. She said something about how she didn't want you to find out what happened. It sounded like something was being covered up. I stared at her, speechless. This couldn't be real. My mind raced, trying to piece together what Lena was saying. But the more I thought about it, the more the pieces seemed to fit into something ugly I hadn't considered before. Are you sure? I finally managed to ask. What exactly did you hear? I don't know all the details, she said, clearly uncomfortable. But it didn't sound good, Emily. Your mom might be hiding more than you think. I stood there for a few seconds, absorbing her words. I didn't know what to do with this information. Part of me wanted to ignore it, hoping Lena had misunderstood, hoping I was just reading too much into it. But deep down, I knew something had never quite felt right with my mom. The way she always controlled the narrative, how she made sure things always went her way. I'd been blind to it for so long. I thanked Lena, but my head was spinning. I walked back to my desk in a daze, barely registering anything around me. Everything I thought I knew about my mom, about my family, suddenly felt like a lie. The calls from my mom kept coming. At first I ignored them, not wanting to deal with her drama. But then they kept coming, relentless, each one more pleading than the last. Emily, why are you doing this to me? Why can't you just come home? Every time I heard her voice, it was like a knife twisting in my gut. How could she ask me to come back, to forgive her, when I didn't even know what she'd done? Was this all just another manipulation? A way to keep me tied down while she got away with something I couldn't even comprehend? Then there was a message from my sister, Clara. "Mom's been trying to reach you. She's upset. You can't just shut everyone out, Em." I wanted to text back, tell her everything I had just learned, but I couldn't. Not yet. Not until I understood more. The idea of confronting my mom without knowing the full truth was too overwhelming. It was like walking into a fight blindfolded. Later that afternoon, I met Raphael for coffee. He could tell something was off, as usual. "What's going on, Emily? You seem distant." I didn't know where to start. My thoughts were still a tangled mess. I found out something about my mom," I said, avoiding his eyes. "Something that doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit with the story I've always been told." Raphael's brow furrowed. "What do you mean? What happened?" I hesitated. Part of me wanted to spill everything, to tell him the whole mess, but I couldn't. Not yet. I don't really know yet, but I think there's more to the situation than I realized. I've been trying to distance myself, but now I don't even know where to go from here. He leaned forward, his voice softer now. "I get it. It's hard, especially when you're not sure who to trust. But you have to figure out what's best for you, Emily. Don't let them pull you in if it's going to hurt you." I nodded, feeling the weight of his words sink in. As I left the coffee shop, my phone buzzed again. Another message from my mom. "I'm sorry for everything. Please come home." The moment I stepped into my mother's house, I knew this wasn't going to be a calm conversation. It felt like a storm was brewing, and I was walking right into it. My mom was sitting at the kitchen table, her hands nervously folding and unfolding a napkin. Clara was nowhere to be seen. I wasn't sure if that was good or bad. "Emily, I'm glad you're here," my mom said, her voice tight. She didn't meet my eyes. I didn't sit down. I couldn't. Something was off. "We need to talk," she sighed, and finally looked at me. "I know this has been hard for you. I know you're angry, and I understand. But you need to understand, too, that I was just doing what was best for everyone." My chest tightened. Doing what was best? What are you talking about? Everything I've done, all these years, it's been for you, for the family. She avoided my gaze again. "You don't know what it's like to carry all of this on your shoulders. What is it, Mom?" I interrupted, my voice rising. "What have you been hiding from me?" Her face tensed. "Nothing, Emily. This is all just a misunderstanding." She reached for the glass of water on the table, taking a long sip as if buying time. "I didn't want you to find out this way. I never wanted you to be involved." "Then why didn't you tell me?" My voice was shaky now, and I could feel my anger building. But it wasn't just anger. It was betrayal. "Why didn't you trust me?" My mother's eyes flickered for a moment, and then she let out a long breath. "You wouldn't have understood. I had to protect you, Emily." "Protect me from what?" I demanded, stepping closer to her. "What have you been doing all these years? What are you hiding? Tell me the truth." She stood up, her hands trembling now. "I was trying to keep you safe, trying to keep the family safe. We couldn't have you knowing everything. The family, it's complicated." "The family? Are you talking about the money?" I asked, my heart pounding. "The money that you've been hiding from me? All this time I thought everything was fine, and now—" "I didn't want to burden you," she said quickly, her voice rising, almost pleading. "Everything I did because I love you. I didn't want you to worry, to know what we've been dealing with. It's not as simple as you think." "Not as simple?" I laughed, though it was bitter, like I'd just been slapped in the face. "This is about control, isn't it? You've been controlling everything, pulling all the strings, keeping me in the dark." Her eyes darkened. "That's not what I've been doing, Emily. "No," I snapped, cutting her off. "You've been lying to me for years. You've been manipulating me, and I've been too blind to see it." She took a step back, a flicker of fear crossing her face. "Please, don't make this harder than it already is." I couldn't take it anymore. The years of her controlling everything, of pretending everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. I had been suffocating under this false image of family, of loyalty, of love. It wasn't love. It was power, and she had used it to keep me in line. I looked her straight in the eye. "You've gone too far this time, Mom. You used me, used all of us. You've been hiding things for so long, and I won't let you do it anymore." She stumbled backward, her face paling. "Emily, please, you don't understand. It was never supposed to be like this." "No," I said, my voice cold, a finality in it that I didn't even know I had. "You made sure I didn't understand. You made sure I stayed in the dark so you could keep your control. Well, it ends now." For a moment we stood there, staring at each other. The silence between us was thick, heavier than I'd ever felt. I wasn't sure if it was anger or fear that had me frozen, but I couldn't look away. "Emily," she whispered, her voice trembling, "please, I did this for you." But I wasn't listening anymore. I didn't want to hear her excuses, her justifications. I knew what I had to do now. I had to take control of my own life, and that meant cutting ties with the lies that had been holding me captive for years. I turned away, my mind racing, but my steps were steady. I couldn't go back to that. I couldn't let her manipulate me any longer. The weight of everything finally caught up with me. It was like I couldn't escape it, either my family's constant attempts to pull me back in, or the truth about my mother that I couldn't ignore any longer. They both were suffocating, pushing and pulling in opposite directions. My mother and sister wanted me to just forget, to come back, to play my part. And then there was the reality of what they had done. Every time my phone buzzed, I hesitated. Another call from my mom. Another text from Clara. It was exhausting. Each message felt like a reminder that they still didn't get it, still didn't see how far they'd gone, how much damage they'd done. "Emily, why are you doing this to us? We miss you. Please, just come home." Another from Clara. "Don't you care about us? You're just going to let everything fall apart?" I didn't reply. Not this time. I couldn't. Not when it felt like every word they said was another way to trap me back into their world of lies. The silence was deafening, but it was also the only thing that gave me some peace. I thought I could ignore the pull, ignore the calls, but the more they pushed, the clearer it became. I was trapped in a cycle. Every time I'd think I had it figured out, I'd get sucked back in, and I'd keep pretending like it didn't bother me. But now, I realized it wasn't just about me anymore. It wasn't just about protecting myself from their manipulations. It was about me making a decision. Raphael had been quiet lately. He'd tried to talk to me a few times, but I was distant. I knew he could see it, the shift in me. He didn't push, but I could tell he wanted to say something. Finally, one afternoon, he said it. "Emily, you're going to have to face them sooner or later. You can't keep hiding from this." I looked at him, surprised by the bluntness of it. "You don't understand, Raphael. You don't know what it's like with them." "I don't," he said, his voice calm. "But I do know that you're not going to find peace until you deal with it. You can't keep running away from the truth." I stayed silent. He was right, of course. I'd been running for so long, convincing myself that keeping my distance was enough. But now I could see it. There was no escaping this. The truth was here. It was undeniable. I could keep pretending to be okay, but deep down, I knew I was already too far gone. I had to face it, no matter how much it hurt. It wasn't just my mom anymore. It was Clara, too. I couldn't go on pretending I didn't see what was happening. The guilt they laid on me was suffocating, and no matter how many times they tried to convince me it was all okay, it wasn't. It never had been. "Why don't you just forgive her?" Clara had said a few days ago. "She's our mother. She's been through so much." I wasn't sure if Clara actually believed that, or if she just wanted to believe it to make herself feel better. I couldn't keep doing this, pretending, keeping the peace, ignoring the reality of how manipulative they'd been. No, it wasn't just her. It was both of them. They'd used me. They'd used their guilt to control me, and I couldn't let it go on any longer. The phone sat in front of me. Another message from my mom. I opened it. "I'm sorry, Emily. Please, just come home. We need to talk." I stared at the screen, feeling the pull once again. I thought about what Raphael had said, and the words sank in. The truth would not go away. The situation wouldn't fix itself if I just ignored it. It was time to make a decision once and for all. I never thought I'd find myself standing in front of a stack of papers that would change everything. The moment I laid eyes on the documents, I felt like the ground beneath me was shifting. There, in black and white, was the undeniable truth. My mother had been hiding a large sum of money. Money that wasn't just any inheritance or savings. It was something bigger, much bigger. The paperwork revealed secret transfers, accounts I'd never heard of, and a network of transactions over the past several years that could not be explained. They all pointed to one thing. My mother had been siphoning off family wealth, stashing it away in hidden accounts. But why? What had she been doing with all of this? It wasn't just about her personal gain. This was about control. Control over everything, including me. I sat there staring at the pages, the weight of the truth crushing me. All this time, I thought I was just another part of the family. But now, I saw the web my mother had been weaving all along. She had carefully set up these accounts and manipulated every move I made, all to ensure I never found out. She'd used every tactic: love, guilt, and most of all, her own version of family loyalty to keep me in the dark. The phone buzzed in my hand, interrupting my thoughts. It was a message from my mom. "Emily, I know you're upset, but you need to understand. I did it all for you, for all of us." I threw my phone onto the couch, frustration bubbling up in my chest. How could she even think for a second that this would be for me? How could she call all this deception and manipulation doing it for us? But the situation had only just begun to unravel. The real storm was about to hit. Not long after, I received a call from a lawyer I didn't recognize. "This is James Marshall. I've been retained by your mother to discuss some important matters regarding your family's financial situation." My stomach dropped. I already knew where this was going. "What's this about?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Your mother has expressed concern over your recent actions. She believes you may be misinformed about the family's financial matters, and she would like to clear things up. However, if you choose to continue this course of action, I must warn you, it could result in legal consequences for you." The lawyer's words felt like a slap. My mother had already involved the legal system to intimidate me, to force me back into line. I could almost hear her voice in the background, her tone full of false concern. She was trying to scare me into submission. "I'm not afraid of her threats," I said, my voice tight. "Tell her I'm not backing down." "You should think carefully about this," he responded coldly. "Family matters can get complicated. If you pursue this further, there will be consequences." So, this was her final play. She'd used every trick in the book, and now she was using the law to trap me. I felt trapped, cornered. But then something clicked. I realized I couldn't keep allowing her to manipulate me with threats. My whole life had been shaped by her lies, and I wasn't going to let it go on any longer. The next day, another message from my mom came through. This one was different. It wasn't a pleading text or a manipulative attempt to make me feel guilty. It was simply a question. "Are you ready to come back to the family?" I thought about what Raphael had said to me. "You have to face this. You can't keep running away." He was right. Running away wasn't going to help. It was time to make a choice. I could stay quiet, let her win, and go back to pretending everything was fine. Or I could fight, face the truth head on, and finally stop being controlled by my family's lies. But this wasn't just a fight for truth. It was a fight for my freedom. I knew the day would come when I'd have to take a stand, but the reality of it hit harder than I expected. There was no going back now. I couldn't let my mother or my family control my life any longer. I had already started making moves, and I wasn't going to back down. The decision was final. I called a lawyer. The moment I signed the papers for legal action, I felt the first weight lift off my shoulders. For so long, I had been stuck in a cycle, held hostage by their demands, their guilt trips. But now, I was doing something about it. I wasn't just letting them take advantage of me anymore. I was stepping into the fight. "Emily, what is this? Why are you doing this to the family? My mom's voice came through the phone, cold and accusatory. I'm doing this for me, Mom, I said, cutting her off. You've crossed a line. I've had enough. She didn't know how to react. She never expected me to go this far. For so long, I had been the one to back down, the one to apologize, the one to let her control everything. But not anymore. She was no longer the one calling the shots. I was. Family was calling nonstop. Messages, texts, even letters started piling up. Everyone had an opinion about what I was doing, but no one understood why I had to do it. They didn't see the manipulation, the years of deceit, the financial control that had been subtly placed on me. To them, I was just being unreasonable. A few even accused me of being selfish. The pressure was building from all sides. My mom kept sending me desperate texts. Emily, we're family. We should be helping each other. Why are you making this worse? Her voice, though heard through the screen, was a weight that I had carried for so long. I almost gave in. Almost. But every word I read only made me more resolute. I couldn't go back. Raphael, my colleague and friend, noticed the shift. You're doing the right thing, Emily, he said one evening over coffee. You can't let them push you around anymore. Whatever happens, you have to take control. He was the one person who truly understood. It wasn't about winning or losing. It was about stopping the cycle. Raphael had always been the kind of person who understood that sometimes you had to break away from the toxic relationships in your life to protect your future. And that's exactly what I was doing. The next few days were filled with calls from my mother, my sister, and even my extended family. They tried everything they could to get me to back down. Guilt, anger, silence. Each method was more aggressive than the last. My mom went as far as threatening me with legal action. She said she would fight me for everything, for the money, for the property. It didn't matter to her what had happened or what was right anymore. She only cared about one thing, keeping control. But I was done. I spoke with my lawyer again. I had already started moving the pieces into place. The paperwork was filed. The assets were protected. There was no going back now. The legal battle would be long, but it would be worth it. I couldn't live like this any longer. If this was what it took to free myself from their grip, then so be it. Every time I saw a message from my mom, a pang of guilt tried to creep in. But it wasn't the same guilt I had felt before. This time, it was different. I had crossed a line. I had made my choice. I was no longer the daughter she could control. I was Emily, standing on my own, ready to fight. The balance of power was shifting, and for once, it wasn't in my mother's favor. Emily, my mom said when we finally spoke in person, this is crazy. You're breaking this family apart over money, over nothing. No, Mom, I replied, my voice firm. I'm doing this because I want my life back. I'm tired of being used, tired of being manipulated. This isn't just about the money. It's about my dignity, my freedom. She looked at me, her face softening, but I could see the anger rising in her eyes. I never thought you would go this far. I raised you better than this. You raised me to be a doormat, I shot back. I'm not doing it anymore. And just like that, the war had begun. But this time, I wasn't going to let her win. I wasn't going to let her tear me down. I wasn't going to let anyone control me again. The fallout from everything that had happened hit fast and hard. Diana had to face the truth she'd worked so tirelessly to hide. The money, the lies, the manipulation. It all came to light, and there was no turning back. No more pretending that everything was fine. No more family secrets tucked safely behind a facade of love and loyalty. I watched as she tried to hold her ground, tried to explain herself again, but the words were hollow. I did it for you, Emily, she said, her voice trembling. Everything I did it for the family. I shook my head. No, Mom. You did it for yourself. You used me. You used all of us. And now it's over. There was nothing more to say. My decision had been made. My family, as I had known it, was gone. Diana had lost more than just my trust. She had lost me. And for the first time in my life, I felt something I hadn't in years. Relief. The weight I'd carried for so long, the need to keep everyone happy, the fear of confrontation, it all fell away. But there was no satisfaction in this victory, no sense of justice or revenge. I didn't want to tear my family apart, but I had no choice. The damage had already been done. Now it was about moving forward, even if that meant leaving the past behind completely. The silence after I walked away from that conversation was deafening. I knew Diana would try to salvage what she could, try to shift the blame, maybe even beg for forgiveness. But I wasn't going to give in. I wasn't going to play her game anymore. The legal consequences for Diana were inevitable. The fraud, the hidden accounts, the lies, they would all come back to haunt her. I didn't need to be the one to press charges. Life had a way of dealing with people like her, and I was sure it wouldn't be kind. I didn't forgive her. I didn't even want to. I understood, intellectually, that forgiveness might be the right thing to do, but the emotional weight of the years of manipulation, the deceit, the control, it was too much to just let go. Forgiveness didn't mean reconciliation, and that was the key. I wasn't going back. My relationship with my family, especially my mother, was broken beyond repair. I wasn't interested in mending it. Some things were just too far gone, too toxic. I was no longer a part of the family dynamic, and I had to accept that. The idea of forgiveness felt like a betrayal to myself. I had been the one who'd been sacrificed in the name of family loyalty, and now the time for that loyalty was over. The days passed, and I started to find peace in the quiet. The storm had passed, and though it had left its marks, I had found a sense of calm. I wasn't looking back anymore. I was focused on the present and what I was building now. I went back to work. The routine I had once felt trapped in now felt freeing. My colleagues and friends supported me, and Raphael, as always, was there when I needed him. He didn't judge, didn't try to fix things. He just let me be. That was all I needed. I'd learned that the hard way. Some people, like Raphael, were not looking for anything in return. They just wanted to see you do well. I started doing things I'd put off for too long. I took weekend trips, visited places I'd always wanted to explore. I wasn't running away from anything, though. I was building the life I should have been living all along, one without manipulation, guilt, or fear. I signed up for a community volunteer program. For the first time in years, I felt like I was doing something that truly mattered, something that wasn't dictated by anyone else's expectations. I wasn't living in the shadows anymore. I was standing in the light, and it felt good. It wasn't perfect. There were still moments of doubt, moments when I'd wonder if I had made the right choice. But those doubts faded with time. I could feel the weight of the past lifting off my shoulders bit by bit. The future felt like it was finally in my hands. And this time, I wouldn't let anyone take it from me. I stayed away from my family. They didn't try to reach out after that last confrontation. Some messages came through, but they were always short, impersonal. The silence between us grew thicker until it was the only thing left. And I didn't mind. The absence of their expectations, their manipulation, it was the healthiest thing I'd done for myself in a long time. I didn't look for closure. There would be no dramatic last words, no final confrontation. The decision had already been made. I was free. And for the first time in years, I could finally breathe. I wasn't waiting for anyone else's approval. I wasn't playing a role anymore. I was just Emily. And that was enough. As time passed, the past became less and less a part of me. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad. I was just at peace. I'd stood my ground, I'd taken control, and now I could focus on what was ahead. I was finally living life on my own terms.